All right, let's talk about total daily energy expenditure. And when I use the word energy, I'm referring to calories. It is important to know how we burn calories, regardless of what your goals are. If you want to alter your body composition, if you want to build muscle, if you want to lose weight, if you are just someone that lives in this daily world and you eat food, it is important to know how you use that food and where energy expenditure comes into play. Metabolism is a super hot word in the fitness industry. In its simplest form, metabolism is chemical reactions in the body that are breaking down food and converting that into energy for your body to use. So, how do we burn energy throughout the day? Again, total daily energy expenditure, TDEE. How do you burn calories? This pie chart shows it. Okay, your BMR, which I will talk about a little bit more in a second, is by far, no question, the most amount of calories that you will burn in a day. About 70%, and then the other, 30, 25%, it's person to person, is broken up between the thermic effect of food, which is just a fancy way of saying you eat food, you require energy to break that down, and then exercise and activity. So let's talk about your basal metabolic rate. Again, this one is like the hit home message to know. Most of the time when people refer to their metabolism, this is what they're talking about. This is your resting calories. The simplest way to think about this is if you laid in bed all day and you didn't move at all, the energy that is required to keep your body functioning, breathing, producing hormones, circulating blood, that all requires a lot of energy. And that is what your basal metabolic rate depicts. And your BMR can change. I mean, based on your body composition, how much muscle and fat you have. I'm sure you have heard that muscle is more metabolically expensive than fat, meaning someone that has more muscle probably burns more calories just because muscle requires more energy. Your genetics, your sex, your environmental exposure, all of these factors kind of come into play for why one person has a BMR of this and another person has a BMR of this. Generally speaking, though, if you took two of the same people and one of them weighed more than the other, then they would burn more calories at rest. And that is important because that means if you are a smaller version of yourself, like you lost 20 pounds, then you are also going to reduce your basal metabolic rate. You can estimate your BMR. You're never going to be able to have 100% accuracy with it, but these are two of the top equations. If you want to take a screenshot of this and do it yourself, you totally can. If you work with me with one-on-one online fitness coaching, then we either will do this at some point or we probably already have. These equations are both relatively accurate. I just did this for myself and I used one and then the other, and it was about an 80 calorie difference. But again, the biggest take home message of this is your BMR is going to be about 70% of all of the calories that you burn on a day to day basis. So the next one is your active calories. This is what most people assume is going to help them control their weight or put them into a deficit. Now, your active calories are broken down into two different factors. You have your non-exercise related activity thermogenesis. That's just a really fancy way of saying the calories that are required to move about your day-to-day life. You walk into the kitchen, you're standing up doing the dishes, you're taking your dog for the walk, you're getting up and down from the ground, playing with your kids. That all requires energy and it's not exercise related. A really simple way to talk about NEAT, non-exercise related activity thermogenesis, is everything that is not sleeping, eating, or exercising. Now, this one is super important because this one varies depending on how active you are. If you are more active just throughout your day, maybe you work a labor intensive job, then your NEAT can be up to 40, even 50% of the total calories that you burn in a day. If you are sedentary and you don't move that much, it can be as little as 10%. And that is a huge difference in you being able to control your body composition and just your health overall. So your NEAT is a huge lever that you can pull. It's tough. You got to change the way that you live. But it's a huge lever that you can pull to just burn more calories throughout the day. Now, EAT is your exercise activity thermogenesis. This is what probably you would assume. Oh, I work out, I burn calories. Strength training, running, HIIT class, swimming. Like you are intentionally trying to burn energy. Notice this. Approximately 5 to 10% of your total daily energy expenditure. That is not a lot. That is something to note. That is why exercise is not the best way to lose weight. Exercise is the best thing you can do for your health overall. Like, I am the biggest proponent of exercise. It helps you regulate your hormones. It helps for longevity. It helps you perform in day-to-day life. It makes you look better. Like, exercise is it. However, when it comes to losing just pure weight and living in a daily caloric deficit, exercise is not the best way to go. You know, the tried and true saying, you can't exercise a bad diet. I mean, it's true. So again, those are your active calories. You have your non-exercise and you have your exercise. Your non-exercise, you can manipulate a lot more. Your exercise is for a lot of other reasons besides controlling your weight. So the last one is your thermic effect of food. And, you know, I don't really think about this on a daily basis, but going back to what I said at the beginning, it's just important to know how we burn energy. And every time you eat food, you burn energy. So your thermic effect of food is the calories needed to digest and absorb and process nutrients. Okay, take with that as you wish. But it is important to know that protein overall has a higher thermic effect of food in order to digest and metabolize the amino acids. That's just another little notch on protein's belt on why it's important to include a high, amount of protein in your diet. Again, this is not something that I would ever calculate or like rely on in order to control my body composition, but it is just important to know. So metabolic adaptation. This is another important thing to note, is just our metabolism changes as we do. So again, if you lost a bunch of weight, then your metabolism is going to slow down. Again, let's say that your BMR was like your resting calories, you burned about 1700 and then you lost 25 pounds. Well, now your BMR might only it might only cost 1500 calories to keep your body working and living at a resting state. And that changes things. So just keep that in mind, that these aggressive calorie deficits might also reduce your overall metabolism and your total daily energy expenditure. Those hunger hormones, I mean, in our body, we all have them, leptin and ghrelin. And these are going to change based on where you're at with your weight, if you're in a calorie deficit, if you're not. Leptin is the satiety hormone. That hormone is going to be produced to tell you, hey, I feel good. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm happy. I'm satiated. The ghrelin is the opposite. That's the hunger hormone. That's going to signal your brain to, hey, like, I need to eat. Like, think before you get, before you sit down for a meal and it's been 3 hours and you've done all this work, your body is being pumped with ghrelin. And these are important to note because if you are embarking on a weight loss journey or a body composition journey, or you just want to be a healthier version of you, it's good to know, like, hey, I've been super hungry. Why is that? Maybe I've been in an aggressive calorie deficit. So again, your body will slow down. You can burn less calories at rest. Oftentimes, people that induce themselves into super aggressive calorie deficits, they just naturally move less. So that NEAT, that is also lower. So keep that in mind. The best way to avoid this metabolic adaptation is to strength train. Just maintain a high amount of muscle mass or try to build more muscle than you currently have. Eating a high protein, high fiber diet, keeping yourself satiated, allowing yourself to build and recover. And then just the simplest one is avoid an excessive restriction in the first place. Just don't put yourself in that position. So some key takeaways. Again, your total daily energy expenditure represents the total calories that you burn in a 24-hour period. It is the charge to keep you operating from a food standpoint. Again, if you want to focus on making alterations to your body composition, if you want to lose weight, if you want to lose fat, then focus more on NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and your BMR to control your body composition, as opposed to just trying to out-exercise that. Avoid the extreme calorie deficits. I mean, that is just a number one in long sustainable health. You just don't put yourself in a super big deficit that you try then to maintain. And the reminder is you can't completely 100% accurately measure your total daily energy expenditure. The best thing in the long run is just going to be trial and error. Trying this certain amount of calories, seeing how my body adapts to that. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. If this inspires you to want to take action in certain ways in your health or fitness, also please let me know. Keep working hard at it.